could be an accommodation for them in Habasha, which would be less harsh than the situation in Mecca. And then when they were in Habasha, and some news came to them that the mushriks accepted Islam when they prostrated with the Prophet ﷺ while reciting Surah Al-Najm. Some of them returned only to find more persecution, and then the permit to migrate again to Al-Habasha, and they stayed there in Habasha until they returned and met the Prophet ﷺ عام خيبر, the year of Khaybar. They returned with Ja'far bin Abi Talib radiallahu ta'ala anhu anhum. The situation in Mecca was still very tough, and the siege occurred then. The siege in the neighborhood of Abi Talib. Following these intense persecutions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the permit Hijrah ila al-Medina, migration to Medina. After Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared for them the Ansar, the helpers, to help those Ansar from the tribe of Al-Aws and Al-Khazraj, when they received the da'wah of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they met him by Jamrat al-Aqaba in Mina several times. Then the last time they gave him the allegiance. A group of them gave the allegiance on Islam and to protect the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam as they protect their wives and their children. And they requested from him to migrate to them, to migrate to Medina. So he agreed, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. First, he permitted his companions to go. Then he waited for the command of Allah. Then when the command of Allah came to him, he migrated to Medina. فَلِلَّهِ الْحَمْدُ وَالْمِنَّةِ. To Allah belongs all the praise and the favors. This was his story in Mecca with his companions, calling them, making jihad with da'wah and direction and exhortation and recitation of the Quran. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَجَاهِدْهُمْ بِهِ جِهَادًا كَبِيرًا, and make the Quran, with the Quran, have jihad by its recitation and its proofs and evidences. And this is the great jihad. A great jihad. So when the matter now settled in Medina, and with the Ansar around him, the helpers, and the Muhajirun, and the immigrants who came from Mecca with him, from the companions, he continued the da'wah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, proclaiming the guidance. Thereafter, Allah the Most High gave the permission to the Prophet ﷺ and to his companions to fight and to make jihad. So in the very beginning, therefore, the permit came legalizing the fight and jihad. And this is stated in Surah Al-Hajj in 22:39. أذن للذين يقاتلون بأنهم ظلموا وإن الله على نصرهم لقدير. Permission to fight is given to those believers against the disbelievers. Permission to fight is given to those against whom war is waged. Because they have been wronged and oppressed. And Allah indeed has power to help them. And this ayah, this verse from Surah Al-Hajj, gave a divine permission to the believers to fight the infidels, the mushriks, after the evidence was established against the mushriks who drove the believers out of their homes because of their faith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that were the believers not to fight the mushriks would have destroyed places of worship, and corruption would have prevailed on earth. And therefore, the wisdom here and the purpose of this legalization of jihad was not to retrieve what the mushriks plundered from the believers. We know that the believers gave up their properties when they immigrated to Medina for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without even thinking of going back someday to Mecca to retrieve what they had left. Rather, they fought in the cause of Allah to keep the word of Allah prevailing. So, to illustrate so far that the permission had been given now at this stage to fight, then after that it turned from a permission to an obligation. As we will discuss even further. فرض الله ذلك سبحانه وتعالى and made it wajib. He obligated it and made it a fard in Surah Al-Baqarah